My sister humiliated me for going to community college and blocked me for 3 years. But when I succeeded as a writer, she came begging. Then I discovered she scammed $15,000 using my name, and now she's facing jail. I'm 24 years old. I work as a freelance writer. And honestly, I need to get this off my chest because what happened with my sister basically made me rethink everything I thought about family and unconditional love. I guess I should start from the beginning, when things were still normal between us, or at least I thought they were. Audrey and I grew up being really close. I mean, she's 2 years older than me, but she was always like my best friend, you know? We shared a room, told each other secrets, did those silly sister things like painting our nails and staying up late talking about our dreams and stuff. She was always the protective older sister. Like, I really admired her because she was super smart and got the best grades. And when she got into college, everyone in the family was super proud because she managed to get into one of those prestigious universities. You know, the kind that cost a fortune and basically guarantee you a bright future. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. My mom Ruth wouldn't stop bragging about it to all her friends. Literally every conversation ended with her saying something like, "My daughter Audrey is at such and such university," as if it were her greatest achievement in life. When it was my turn to decide about college, things got complicated. The truth is, I didn't have the money to go to an expensive university like Audrey's, and also, I wasn't sure what I wanted to study. So I decided to go to community college first, save a little, figure out what I really liked, and then maybe transfer to a 4-year university. It seemed like a smart decision to me, practical, without huge student loan debts. But when I told Audrey, her reaction was weird. She didn't say anything bad directly, but there was something in her tone, in the way she said, "Oh, okay, community college, that's fine, I guess." That made me feel like I had disappointed someone. My mom wasn't excited either, but didn't make such a big deal. Just passive-aggressive. Comments every now and then like, "I wish you had applied to better schools or your sister didn't have to take that route." Things started to change when Audrey came home in the summers or on breaks. Before we talked about everything, but suddenly she only wanted to talk about her university, her super important friends, the exclusive parties, the incredible internships she was getting, and when I tried to tell her about my classes or my part-time job at a coffee shop to pay for my things, I could literally see how she lost interest. Her eyes would go to her phone or she'd start talking about something else. One day, I excitedly told her I had gotten an A in my creative writing class, and she just said, "Oh, that's nice," and then continued talking about how she had met the son of some important CEO at a conference at her university. It hurt. I'm not gonna lie. But I told myself she was just busy, that it was normal for college to be changing her a little. But then it started getting worse. Audrey began to be embarrassed by me, and I'm not exaggerating. When her friends from university came to visit her and I was home, she basically ignored me or introduced me in a super awkward way. Once I heard her tell one of her friends, "This is my younger sister. She's at community college," with that tone that made it clear it was something she wasn't proud of. I stood there, feeling like trash, like I had done something wrong just by making a smart financial decision. I started avoiding being home when she brought her friends over because I didn't want to feel that humiliation again. Things reached their lowest point 3 years ago, when I was 21 and she was 23. Audrey organized a party at my mom's house, one of those fancy parties where all her friends from university came with expensive clothes and talked about their important jobs and their apartments in the city. I didn't want to go, honestly, but my mom begged me to go, to make an effort for my sister. That family is important, and all those things moms say. So I went. I put on a nice dress I had bought at a thrift store because I couldn't afford to buy new clothes constantly. You know? And tried to socialize even though I felt completely out of place. Everything was going more or less okay, until I accidentally spilled my drink on one of Audrey's friends' blouse. It was a complete accident. Like someone bumped into me accidentally and my glass went flying. But Audrey's reaction was as if I had committed a crime. She turned to me in front of everyone, and with that cold voice that freezes your blood, she told me, "You're so pathetic, Nora. Why did you come if I knew you were going to ruin everything? I can't take you anywhere without you making a fool of yourself." And then, while I was standing there feeling how everyone was looking at me, she added, "You should leave. You clearly don't belong here." I froze, literally couldn't move a muscle because I couldn't believe that my sister, the person who's supposed to love me unconditionally, had just publicly humiliated me that way. I felt the tears wanting to come out, but I wasn't going to give her that satisfaction. So I grabbed my bag and left without saying anything. My mom followed me to the door, telling me that Audrey was stressed, that she didn't mean it, but I just wanted to get out of there. After that night, I tried to talk to Audrey. Like, I sent her messages asking her to talk, to clear things up, because despite everything, she was my sister and I didn't want our relationship to end like that. But she blocked me. Seriously, she blocked me on the phone, on social media, everywhere. It was like I had ceased to exist for her. I tried to contact her through my mom, but Ruth just said that Audrey needed space, to give her time, that eventually things would work out. Months passed, and then years, and nothing. Audrey acted like I didn't exist, and every time I brought up the topic with my mom, she changed the conversation or made me feel guilty for not leaving things alone. During those 3 years without talking to Audrey, my life moved forward in ways I never expected. I graduated from community college and decided not to transfer to a 4-year university because honestly, I was already tired of the traditional education system and had discovered that what I was really passionate about was writing. I started writing stories, at first just for fun, but then I decided to try publishing something independently. It was hard at first, like everything, but eventually one of my stories started selling well, then another. And before I knew it, I had a small but loyal group of readers who loved my work. I wasn't a millionaire or anything, but I was making enough to live comfortably, pay my bills, and even save a little. It was ironic, I guess, that the sister who went to community college was financially more stable than the one who went to the prestigious university. But I didn't think much about it because I was busy building my life and honestly trying to heal from my sister's rejection. Then, like 3 months ago, my mom started with her campaign for me to go to Audrey's birthday. She literally called me every day saying, "Nora, please, it's been 3 years. It's time to let go of the past. She's your sister. Family is the most important thing." And I kept telling her mom. She blocked me. She was the one who cut me out of her life. If she wants to talk to me, then she should contact me first. But Ruth wouldn't give up, and eventually she wore me down. She made me feel like the bad guy for not wanting to extend the olive branch, so I finally gave in and said, "Okay, I'll go to her stupid birthday, but only for you, Mom, not for her." My mom was super excited and suggested I bring a gift, something special to show I wanted to fix things. So I spent like $500 that I honestly didn't want to spend on a designer bag that I knew Audrey would love, because she had always been obsessive about expensive brands. I arrived at the party feeling all the nervous butterflies in my stomach, like I didn't know what to expect. If Audrey was going to ignore me, if she was going to make another scene, or what. I walked in with the gift in hand and looked for her. When she finally saw me, her expression changed immediately. Not to happiness at seeing me after 3 years, but to something between shock and disgust. She came up to me, pulling my arm toward a more private corner, and hissed through her teeth, "What are you doing here?" And I tried to explain that Mom had begged me to come, that I wanted to make peace. But before I could finish, she interrupted me with, "Mom didn't tell me anything about this. I can't believe you came without warning." I extended the gift to her, and she didn't even look at it, just kept looking at me with those eyes full of resentment. But things got much worse. Audrey dragged me back to where all her guests were, basically using my presence as some kind of show. And in front of all, her friend said, "Look who decided to show up. My little sister who went to community college and who works at who knows what." The tone was so condescending, so full of venom, that I felt my face turn red with embarrassment. Her friends laughed uncomfortably, and I just wanted the earth to swallow me. I was about to leave, literally already turning around to get out of there and never see these people again in my life, when one of Audrey's friends, I think her name was Valerie, stopped me and asked, "Wait, are you Nora? Like, Nora the writer? I have all your books. They're amazing." The silence that followed was so awkward you could physically feel it. Audrey froze. Her face went through like 1,000 different emotions in 2 seconds, from confusion to what looked like panic. Valerie kept talking super excited, saying she had bought all my books, that she had recommended them to all her friends, that she couldn't believe she was meeting her favorite author at her friend's party. Other guests started pulling out their phones, searching for my name, and suddenly everyone wanted to talk to me, ask me about my work, ask me to sign things. It was surreal, especially after Audrey had just humiliated me literally 2 minutes ago. What happened next was even weirder. Audrey's attitude changed completely, like 180 degrees. Suddenly, she was all smiles and hugs, saying things like, "Yes, my little sister is super talented. I always knew she was going to do incredible things." She put her arm around me like we were best friends for life and started showing me off to her guests. I was standing there completely confused because 5 minutes earlier she was calling me community college trash, and now she was acting like my #1 fan. It was so fake, so obviously calculated, that I felt physically sick. I stayed at the party a while longer because I didn't want to make a scene ironic, considering Audrey had never had that problem with me. But as soon as I could, I escaped and went to my apartment feeling a mixture of relief, anger, and total confusion. The next day, the messages started. Audrey unblocked me from everything and started bombarding me with texts, calls, social media messages. Everything was, "Hey sis, it was so good to see you yesterday. We should hang out soon. I missed you so much. I feel like we drifted apart, but I want to fix our relationship." Not a single apology for the way she treated me. No acknowledgement of the 3 years she had me blocked. Just acting like nothing had happened. I responded after a few days with a super direct message, telling her I needed time, that I didn't feel comfortable with how things had changed so quickly just because she discovered I was successful, and that if she really wanted to fix our relationship, we needed to have an honest conversation about everything that had happened. Her response was immediately defensive. She said I was exaggerating, that she had always loved me, that I was the one holding a grudge over something that happened years ago. She didn't mention once the horrible things she said to me, the way she blocked me and cut me completely out of her life. Nothing. She just wanted to sweep everything under the rug and pretend we were happy sisters again. I didn't respond because honestly I didn't know what to say, and I thought maybe if I ignored her, she'd get the message and leave me alone. But Audrey wasn't one to give up easily, at least not when there was something to gain. Like 2 weeks after her birthday, she showed up at my apartment unannounced. She rang the bell on a Saturday morning, and when I opened the door, there she was with coffee and bagels, acting all casual like visiting me without an invitation was completely normal. She said she was in the area and thought she'd stop by to say hi, that she wanted to see how I was living now. Let me tell you, it was super uncomfortable. She was walking around my apartment asking weird questions about how much I paid in rent, if I owned or rented, how much I made from my books, if I had an agent who handled my finances. Questions that frankly were none of her business. But I was still in that mentality of keeping the peace, so I answered vaguely, trying not to give too many details. Then she started with this crazy idea. She said she had been thinking and that we should start a business together, something related to my writing, that she could handle the business side while I focused on creating content. I told her I wasn't interested, that I liked working alone, that I didn't want to mix family and business, especially considering our complicated history. She acted like I was being ridiculous, saying things like, "But we're sisters. This could be incredible for both of us. We could make a lot of money." The way she emphasized the money thing made me super uncomfortable, like I could see in her eyes that this had nothing to do with rebuilding our relationship and everything to do with taking advantage of my success. I told her again no, more firmly this time, and she finally left, but I could see she was upset. What happened next was probably the craziest thing about this whole situation. Audrey started telling people, friends, family, social media acquaintances, that she and I were starting a business together. She literally created this whole narrative without my consent or knowledge. I started receiving messages from people congratulating me, asking for details about the business, some even offering investments. I was completely confused at first, like I didn't understand what they were talking about, until someone sent me a screenshot of a post Audrey had made on Instagram where it said something like super excited to announce that my sister, the incredible writer Nora, and I are launching a business together. More details soon. It had pictures of us from when we were kids, making it all look super emotional and genuine. I got furious, like angrier than I had been in a long time. I sent her a long text message telling her to delete the post immediately, that we didn't have any business together, that she had no right to use my name or my career for whatever she was planning. Her response was typical of her, basically telling me I was exaggerating, that she was just excited about the possibility, that I was being selfish and not thinking about how this could benefit both of us. I told her that if she didn't delete the post and stop telling people we had a business together, I was going to make a public post debunking everything. She said, "Fine, I'll delete it." God, you don't have to be so dramatic. But when I checked hours later, the post was still there. So I did something I probably should have done from the beginning. I blocked her. Everywhere. Just like she had blocked me 3 years earlier. And honestly, it was liberating. Like I finally felt I could breathe without having this cloud of toxicity following me everywhere. My mom called me the next day furious, saying, "How dare I block my sister?" That Audrey was devastated, that I was being cruel. I explained the whole situation, the fake business, the lies, the manipulation. But Ruth just kept saying there must be a misunderstanding, that Audrey wouldn't do something like that I was misinterpreting things. That's when I realized my mom was never going to be on my side, no matter what Audrey did. Things got even worse when I discovered that Audrey had been collecting money from people who thought they were investing in our non-existent business. A cousin contacted me asking when he was going to see returns on the $3,000 he had given Audrey for the initial investment. I almost fell over when he told me that. Like I literally felt my heart sink because I realized Audrey had been scamming people using my name. I immediately told my cousin I had nothing to do with it, that there was no business, that he needed to ask Audrey for his money back urgently. It turned out he wasn't the only one. Like 5 other people had invested money, some small amounts of a few $100s, others larger of thousands. In total, Audrey had collected like $15,000 from people who trusted her. When people started demanding accountability and their money back, Audrey blamed me. She said I had backed the business at first but then backed out, that it was my fault everything fell apart because I wasn't committed, that she had spent the money on initial business costs that were now going nowhere because of me. It was all lies, obviously, but people were so angry that some believed me and others believed her, and it became this huge drama where I was constantly defending myself from accusations about something I never participated in. My mom started calling me multiple times a day, begging me to help Audrey. Turns out she had spent all the money she collected on things for herself, expensive clothes, restaurant outings, a trip to Europe, basically maintaining this luxury lifestyle she couldn't afford. And now she was being threatened with lawsuits and had no way to return the money. Ruth told me I had to help her financially because we're family, that Audrey made a mistake, but that I could easily fix it with the money I made from my books. I told her she was crazy if she thought I was going to bail Audrey out of a problem she created by scamming people and using my name to do it. And the last conversation I had with my mom was like 2 weeks ago. She called me crying, saying that Audrey could go to jail, that her life was ruined, that I was her only hope, that please, I reconsider helping her. And honestly, something in me just broke. Not from sadness, but from clarity. I told her, "Mom, for years you allowed Audrey to treat me like garbage. You never defended me when she humiliated me. You always found excuses for her behavior. And now when she's finally facing the consequences of her own actions, you want me to rescue her? I'm not going to do it. And if you keep pressuring me, I'm going to have to block you too because I can't continue with this toxic cycle." She started yelling that I was a horrible daughter, a selfish sister. But I simply hung up. Audrey eventually had to declare bankruptcy and make payment arrangements with the people she scammed. My mom is barely talking to me, just short and cold messages when absolutely necessary. Some relatives think I'm horrible for not helping my sister. Others understand why I walked away. And me? I'm in therapy trying to process all this, to understand why for so long I accepted being treated as less than nothing just because we were family. Last week, my therapist asked me if I felt guilt about not helping Audrey, and I had to think about that for a moment. The truth? I don't feel guilt about protecting myself from someone who showed over and over again that she only valued me when I had something she wanted. I feel sadness for the sister I lost. Or rather, for the sister I thought I had but who maybe never really existed. I feel frustration because my mom chose to protect the daughter who did things wrong instead of supporting the one who was being hurt. But guilt for setting boundaries and walking away from toxicity? No, not that. I keep writing, my books keep selling well, and I built a life I like without needing to impress anyone or prove my worth based on where I went to college. Sometimes I wonder how things would have been if Audrey had accepted me from the beginning, if she hadn't been so obsessed with status and appearances. But I guess I'll never know. And maybe that's okay. Not all family stories have happy endings where everyone reconciles, and I'm learning to be at peace with that.